I want your soul to be free. That is the biggest thing that I desire for every person that I serve. And your soul knows that once it integrates those certain lessons, karmic challenges, what I call interferences, so call them like blockages in the road. Once we can integrate that in your energy through energy healing work on a mind, body, soul level, so through the subconscious body, through the physical body, through the mental body, through the emotional body, through the spirit body, what ends up happening is your soul can now experience its natural path of life.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive State Podcast. I am your host, Dr. V, triple board certified MD and performance and longevity expert. And on today's podcast, I give you someone who talks about a topic that I am really into these days, which is just energy. How do we think about energy? How do we master our energy? How do we clear our energy? The more and more I'm starting to do medicine and study the science of longevity and biohacking, the more I am convinced that mastering our energy, mastering our bioenergetic state has the biggest impact for our health, for our relationships, and for all of the reality we create, whether it be in our careers, whether it be the impact of what we do in our work. Our energy is the code that basically instructs our DNA how to behave, which is why it's important for our health. Our energy is also what other people feel from us, how people listen, how people perceive us, even before words leave our mouths. So it's so important for us to maintain our energy, master our energy, if we truly want to be able to connect with people in the way that expands not only ourselves, but each other. So on today's podcast, you'll learn just that. You'll learn the importance of energy, why it's important for your health, but most importantly, give you some tools that you can use to master your energy in any moment of time. So if you are new to the podcast, welcome in. This is a place where I get the opportunity of hosting thought leaders and experts in the world of biohacking, longevity, and human potential to give you the tips, the tactics, the tools to become the best version of yourself. And why do I do it? Well, I really do believe that many people are suffering now because they are not awake to who they actually are, that who they actually are inside as a soul is infinite love, abundance, and that we're deeply connected with each other. But we have learned and we've been brainwashed to think that we are separate from each other, separate from God, separate from all of life. And this separation actually activates our nervous system, thinking that we are actually in danger. This actually creates the biology of stress and inflammation in our body. It lowers our immune system. That puts us prone to getting chronic symptoms and chronic disease. And so awakening to who we are, remembering that we are safe, loved, and connected, but also giving ourselves the grace of having this human body, of this nervous system, of maybe having to forget who we are so that we can remember, is a beautiful, messy life's journey. But I do believe that living life and being able to remember just what a gift it is really the path for us to not only achieve enormous health, but the potential that exists in each and every one of us. So for all you that are new, welcome in. For all you that have been returning, thank you. And if you haven't done so already, please allow this show to grow. It would be a deep favor for myself, for our listeners, for all of humanity, I believe, to get more of this message out into the world. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, if any of the podcasts have been helpful, please hit the subscribe button. Engage with the podcast by giving us a 5-star review and sharing comments on this podcast page, and also sharing this episode with your friends and family members, because it will do just that, is help people awaken to the beauty of who they are and the potential that exists in each and every one of them. As free gifts for being a loyal listener and for being a part of this journey with us, let me give you free access to the digital version of me. This is actually an AI that knows everything I know in the longevity, biohacking, human potential space, and it can guide you through your health, your relationships, and your work. Go to mythrivestate.com/biohack to receive that and to receive additional free resources in performance and longevity. Go to thrivestatestarter.com. If you haven't already, remember to pick up a copy of my book, Thrive State, because it gives you the pillars and the framework for you to reach your potential. Knowing the tools and the framework of the Thrive State book will really allow you to master your energy so that you could use that energy to expand your business, your purpose, your relationships. And that's what I want for you. And on today's podcast, I'm joined by Victoria Pippo. She is a global energy healer and psychic development expert specializing in energetics of peak performance and spiritual sovereignty. As a founder of the Sovereign Healer, she helps high-achieving leaders, facilitators, and creatives clear unseen interference, regulate their energy field, and align with a deeper intelligence driving fulfillment and longevity. Her work bridges ancient energetic mastery with modern personal power, guiding those on a mission not only to thrive in business and in health, but to do so with clarity, protection, and soul integrity. So, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy this beautiful conversation with myself and Victoria Pippo. Victoria Pippo, welcome to the Thrive State podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Kien. I'm happy to be here.
I am super excited to dive in here because my audience is starting to recognize the importance of energy and our being. And they're beginning to understand that not only does it shape our reality, but that energy is actually shifting our biochemistry. That's actually speaking to our cells in a moment-to-moment basis that actually controls our biology as well. So becoming more conscious to the energy is so important. So when we started to dive a little bit into your work, we're like, wow, this is amazing stuff that you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. That means so much to me to hear. And I really do feel that the world is in a place where they're ready to have conversations about how things are intrinsically connected in a way that even a few years ago when I was talking about the importance of taking care of your energy field, taking care of psychic hygiene, that was not something that people were readily ready to have conversations about. It felt like there was a lot of pushback. Whereas now people are coming back to the foundation of energy more than ever before, almost like they branched out and thought that they were invincible and then realized that everything comes back to foundations. And now people are starting to really liken to the conversation more. And that's a positive sign for me.
Yeah. What I would love to do with this podcast is really kind of at least bring people up to speed on certain concepts of energy earlier on, but hopefully also have some practical things that they might be able to walk away with to be able to just be a little bit more aware or somehow hack into their energy like towards the end. So stay tuned because we're looking forward to getting that from Victoria very soon. Now, before we dive into that, there's a portion of the show called the 5 to Thrive. Five questions, 1,000 points each, less than 15-second answers just to lubricate the field a little.
Oh, okay.
All right. And winner gets a healthy meal on me. So when we connect, I do travel to Vancouver probably once or twice a year. Healthy meal on me. So my question to you, Victoria Pippo, are you ready to play the 5 to Thrive?
Oh, I'm ready to play. Now that I know we're playing a game, I'm in.
All right. 1,000 points. Question number one was, what was some recurring dream that you had in childhood in terms of what you saw, in life that just kept coming up?
I always thought I was going to be a professional actor from a young age. And I would always see myself on stage speaking to thousands of people ever since I was a child.
Oh, wow. We could dive into that, but I already see that for you. And you're certainly as a child, we know our soul the best. So awesome. 1,000 points. For 2,000 points, if you could have one go-to kind of energetic ritual or practice to take with you, what is kind of like one of your favorites?
Ground, shield, protect, and cleanse. We'll go into practicalities later, but I'd say the one, if I could live with one and only one, it would be learning how to ground my energy.
Oh, so good. I can't wait to dive in a little bit deeper. Question number 3 is, okay, you are now on stage, but you're not speaking. You are in front of 150,000 people and I hand you a mic to sing a song. Which song would that be?
Let It Go from Frozen.
Oh, wow. One of my daughter's favorites.
Oh, well, you should not let your daughter know that I used to be a professional Disney princess on the Disney Cruise Line ships portraying Elsa.
Oh no, we got to get up to Vancouver now.
Let me know. I would be happy to.
Oh my gosh. All right. I'm so excited. Question number 4 is what one quote or book or mindset shift entered your life that completely, allowed you to, kind of step into a different path or timeline?
The saying, if it's all God, it's all good. And that was something that was actually downloaded through my consciousness from my spirit guides, but it helped me rewire my nervous system after a lifetime of survival.
So good. Okay. And question number 5, which, I used really just to open the conversation to you with, is finish the sentence. When I am in energetic sovereignty, I feel
unlimited.
So good. 5,000 points, which means a meal on me the next time we connect. But it also means Elsa for my daughter.
You let me know. I would be happy to. I have the best time singing for my niece. She gives me a bunch of songs she wants me to sing, and she calls me Titi. And so I'll send her all those songs. Wow. You let me know, and I've got it on demand for you.
Amazing. All right. So let's put the context of what we are going to discuss again today. My audience already knows I'm a conventional medical doctor. In fact, I was just in the hospital doing some work, pulled out some clot in somebody's heart. And there's so much we could do in conventional medicine, which is, I think, physical work, but there are very much limitations. And I truly believe that any manifestation in life, and I hate to use that word because some people are more scientific, so to speak, but I feel like any reality, anything that we currently have, whether it be in our health, in our relationships, or in our circumstances, is basically the end result of our energetic state over space and time. Mm-hmm. And so our energy is so important. Now, for the people who are listening, who are looking for help, who are looking to become the best versions of themselves, let's at least, create an idea, I guess, your approach to energy and why this conversation is important to them.
Yes. So I believe that we all came here for a reason on this earth. And I believe that we all have unique souls that are here to master those certain lessons. And so if you can hang with me there and say, I can grasp that, then this will all make sense. And so what I believe, we come on earth understanding that we have certain lessons to learn, but we come on this earth also knowing that we're going to have to remember what those lessons are. That the foundation of challenges that we have been given directly oppose, or we could say perhaps catalyze the opportunity for us to remember. But the caveat is we have to first forget. And so we come on earth forgetting that we are souls, pure consciousness, experiencing ourselves in a physical vessel. And our job is to remember that that's who we are. Otherwise known as waking up or breaking out of the matrix or shaking ourselves of the spell that we've been in. And so where my work intersects with that is that I want your soul to be free. That is the biggest thing that I desire for every person that I serve. And your soul knows that once it integrates those certain lessons, karmic challenges, what I call interferences, so call them like blockages in the road. Once we can integrate that in your energy through energy healing work on a mind, body, soul level, so through the subconscious body, through the physical body, through the mental body, through the emotional body, through the spirit body, what ends up happening is your soul can now experience its natural path of life. And that doesn't mean that you don't experience challenges. It doesn't mean that you don't experience hardship, but it means that finally what your soul came here to heal, to remember, to restore, you've done that through the energetic sovereignty work. And now from here, you can experience the natural expression of what your soul came here to experience.
Yeah. So I wonder what your thoughts here on this, and I'm not quite sure if it makes, a large difference. I tend to think the former, but would love to ask you this question. Do you believe that a soul already comes in with everything that they need to transcend and therefore attract the circumstances and people in life, including our parents, for us to have those lessons? Or do you believe we are whole, perfect, complete in this abundant form that we enter in life, just happens to pick up distortions that are not us in our childhood that we then transcend?
Well, I think it's a both and. Because I think each soul is quite intricate. I've worked with souls who have been caught in reincarnation loops on planet Earth for many incarnations, meaning they are literally trapped in a washer cycle, coming back on Earth once and again until they master certain lessons. And so they have, if you will, signed on the dotted line to have certain agreements. So whether that be this is going to play my mom in this lifetime, this is going to play my absent father in this lifetime, and that's going to help me heal this, and that's hopefully going to help me heal this. And then they come on Earth and say, okay, let's see how this goes. However, we also exist on a planet of free will. And so I believe that we come on Earth knowing certain players based on what our soul needs in different contracts, in different agreements that our soul decides. And then when you weave in the game of choice and you weave in dormant understanding about who we are and we fall back asleep, this is where free will and conditioning and programming kind of interweave with soul contracts.
So good. I'm going to dive in and throw in a little bit of science later on in terms of what the mechanics of some of this stuff is and why it causes disease in our body. But I want to get to the story of maybe your awakening. I don't know much about you. I know that you're from Vancouver and know that you used to do Disney cruises being Elsa.
Yeah.
What certainly I know there was part of you that was just knowing that you wanted to entertain as a child and knowing that you were here to shine a light. And I very much as a child had the desire to act as well. And I think my ego was, oh no, you need to be a Hollywood actor so that you could become famous and get X, Y, and Z. Where now it's really, oh, now I remember that the desire is to speak and to share, but it's also sharing the wisdom in life that I have now finally received in my life, right? Talk to me a little bit about what that awakening process was for you. Were there any circumstances and who were you when you were Elsa, that Disney princess? Was she somebody that was in the process of awakening or give us a little bit of context of your awakening?
Well, I love how the universe always brings in the right people because we seem to have quite similar parallels of realizing we're not necessarily here to find ourselves trapped in our ego in the pursuit of something, but rather to take the life wisdom and experiences that we've had and hopefully make the world better for somebody else. And so similar to you, that was my journey as well, except I began quite young as a child actor. So I believe that a lot of really intuitive, empathetic people, if parents are not aware of who they are, they tend to throw them into something like arts. And so for me, my family was very supportive of me pursuing singing, acting, modeling, performing from a very young age. And also the conditioning started to become that I was only as valuable as I won first place. If I didn't win first place, I was nobody. My worth was contingent on an authority figure, not on myself. And that was really, honestly, my entire life until my awakening. And so I did extraordinary things. I moved to New York City. I booked jobs. I had 17 agent offers out of college. I have a bachelor of music and musical theater. I traveled the world internationally performing. Like, I did it all. And then once I moved to New York, I booked a gig with Disney to portray Elsa on their cruise ships. At this time, I had already, by the grace of God, recovered from a pretty significant Adderall addiction in my college days. And you'll understand when I tell you that the prescribed dose was 30 milligrams and I was taking 230 milligrams of Adderall every day.
Wow. Okay.
To try to show myself that I could do it, to learn theory books in a day, to try to fit in with my classmates, even though I struggled financially, to try to feel like I belonged. That was really the undercurrent of the disease that was coursing through me, which was ultimately I was not in my body and I was always looking for somebody else outside of me to tell me that I was worthy. And so I took if you will, the sobriety of the Adderall, but the addiction in my energy to my cruise ship contract when I was playing Elsa, singing Let It Go in a very challenging narcissistic relationship underneath the scenes of singing Let It Go. And the irony being that I was singing Let It Go while also simultaneously keeping myself in a position of feeling always disempowered. Somebody else had power over me. I was never going to be good enough while I was playing one of the most arguably iconic Disney princesses of our time, singing one of the most challenging songs in musical theater history. And so my awakening began after the completion of that contract. because at the time I was living in the United States. I'm Canadian, but I was living in the United States on a 1-year visa, hoping that this person that I was with would save me, essentially, and give me the visa that I was looking for so I could stay in the States. But the relationship naturally fell apart. My time in New York City ended. However, that was the culmination of 2 decades of anticipation and hope that that was going to be the dream. And I was right there living in New York City, touching the great apple, like I was experiencing everything just to watch every vision I had had for the trajectory of my life crumble. And so that started the process of hindsight, looking at my life, wondering why I was the common denominator in this constant survival state I was living in, and also this constant addiction to being more or letting somebody else outside of me tell me that I was good enough, letting other people open doors in my validity that I couldn't find in myself. And so that happened 2018.
Wow. What was the inciting incident? I mean, I know for me, I share a very similar story, which is how I ended up in conventional medicine and, how I was constantly hustling to bring more patients, to elevate my positioning in the hospital, to, have something on the outside tied to my worth. And it was never enough until I became the poster child of the Dalai Lama phrase when he was asked what he found most interesting about humanity. He said, man, because he would sacrifice his health in order to make money and then sacrifice his money to recuperate his health. And that's what I truly see when we forget who we are, when we are running off of egoic programs that is seeking safety, love, and connection. With, of course, the irony is that we come in as that. And so for me, it was, probably losing relationships in my life, as well as being overweight, diabetic, and having high blood pressure, that I started to just do the work, something different that was just not. And it's been a process, and certainly I do the work every single day. But what was that for you? Was there an inciting incident? And then what were the first steps to this remembering process?
Yeah. So after that experience had happened with this breakup, that essentially I had known that my partner had been unfaithful to me and I had continued to stay with them. And I had known for over a year that my partner was unfaithful. And I had this voice in my head that would say, leave him. And I didn't understand what that voice meant, because underneath that was, I'm not safe to. I have to use this opportunity to move forward in my career. Like, I'm so close. There was all of this underlying, I have to, but there was that voice in the head that was so simple that would say, leave him. And so when he left me, this started the journey for me of starting to understand my own mind, or wanting to understand my own mind, because my parents had been divorced 6 times in total between the age of 0 and 7 in my childhood.
Wow.
So it was very clear that I had abandonment wounds. I think potentially we could all agree on that.
Yeah.
I assumed people were going to leave. I assumed people weren't going to take me seriously. I assumed that I was always going to be the odd one out. Those were my common assumptions. And so I began the process of rewiring my mind through meditation. One of my good friend's mother recommended a book for me. I can't remember what it was, because it was actually in college. And at first I kind of scoffed at her. But then as I opened up the book, the first recommendation was meditation. And I thought, well, I can't lose anything by meditation more than what I've already lost. And so I started the process of meditation. Simple, 10 minutes a day, my mind thinking crazy thoughts the entire time, but slowly but surely, the more I had meditated, the more I had been able to hear myself for the first time in my life, start to hear my own intuition. And that soon after led me to some very significant spiritual experiences that had happened that then opened me up to the world of energy, not just, can I calm my mind, calm my body for 10 minutes and start to notice some of my patterns.
That's beautiful. I in the past work with a lot of high achievers, celebrities, people from that space. And one of the most difficult things to be able to do for them has been, starting some kind of practice that quiets their mind. And so what do you suggest to some of those people that feel like they don't have the time to meditate, or it's so difficult to meditate that they constantly have to be at a go? What might be, something that they could start with that's simple, that could open the door to potentially quiet down, the parts of them that are fearing lights
Yeah,
that they're not aware of.
totally, that they're not aware of, and maybe they're scared of what they might see if they actually did sit down. That was definitely my concern, was if I start to unpack this, do I have the tools to be able to navigate this?
Mhm.
And so the first thing that I've actually heard as a piece of advice, I can't remember where it came from, but someone said that if you don't think you have 10 minutes to meditate, you need to give yourself 20,
Yeah. Mhm.
right? If we don't think we have time to exercise, 20 minutes, you need to make time for 40 minutes. You need to make more time than you think if you don't think you have time with the very limited amount of chance you're giving yourself to make a different choice. And so the first thing when it comes to meditation is being able to control the variables. Meaning, if you've got both your work phones sitting in the room and you've got, your kids running around and you're trying to meditate, that's not going to be your greatest start. Ideally, one day you'll be able to get to the point where there's multiple variables and you're able to come into calm. But at first, what I recommend is you find a favorite song and you just go into your bedroom, in the shower even, if you have an office space, and just put on that song. And your only job is just to listen to the song. That's it. And if your mind wanders, just come back to the favorite part of the lyric. What are you doing? Well, the first thing is you're not making meditation a goal. You're just making it something that you do just because. Because you care about that time with yourself, because you just want to show up. You disconnect from the goal. And then when you're listening to your favorite song, this is something that you enjoy. So it naturally doesn't feel like effort. And so you play your favorite song for 3 minutes, and your only job is to close your eyes and listen to the beat. That's it. And then when you're complete, just notice how you feel. Like, wow, that 3-minute, 50-second song, forgot how much I loved that song. Or, God, that felt good just to pause for a moment. That felt good to just be. And the more you do that, what will end up happening is maybe the next time you decide to take away the song and see if you can put a timer on for 5 minutes. And your goal here is that there's no goal. You're just simply closing your eyes. If you can, start to listen to the breath and feel where the breath is in the body, not trying to control it or change it or judge it, because we know you're a high performer, so you're probably thinking about your calendar, and that's okay. But slowly but surely, what will end up happening is you start to have a non-judgmental approach to creating time for yourself, minimizing the noise, and starting to hear the voice within.
As you say that, is a goal to be quote unquote happy all the time or to feel good all the time? And what role do these other energetic emotions play in our life?
Well, leaders are bridges, and bridges are tested. You have to be able to hold duality. So happiness is the equivalent of being able to hold sadness. You need both. And the gift of meditation is that the more that you sit in quiet contemplation, without trying to measure how good or how bad you did, because that's where the goal comes in. A goal is a measurement. How close am I or far am I from where I want to go? That's not meditation. Meditation is, can I just simply be here and just notice what I'm thinking and just notice what I'm feeling? And so what you'll realize is that the goal of meditation isn't even to raise your vibration. It's just to notice what vibration you're in the first place.
Mm.
And so for high-performing leaders, I think the challenge is they have shame about the fact that they can't master the goal, even though there's no goal of meditation to begin with. And so if they can eradicate the goal and don't aim for happiness and instead aim for contemplation.
You mentioned the word duality, and it's such an important concept. But if you were to break down the concept of duality and why some people live or want to live in more non, in a more of a dualistic role, can you explain that simply for people listening to that for the very first time?
Yes. So my understanding of duality and the work that I do as an energy healer is opposition. So there's happiness and then there's sadness. There's good on this planet. I think we can potentially all agree there are good people doing good things, pure things for the world. And then there are some frequencies that are not good and they're not benevolent and they don't have potentially good intentions in mind, let's say. And so duality is the frequency of opposition that in this reality that we live in, we experience. And so what role does that play? Well, it depends on who's perceiving it. In my world, the role of duality is very important because it helps us master ourselves. It helps us understand what we want by experiencing what we don't want. It allows us to be able to become more discerning about what is good for us or what is potentially not of service to us. And I think the challenge people can get into is when they try to transcend duality without actually being able to master it. That's when it becomes a challenge. I'm trying to raise my vibration to happiness so that all of these other negative emotions cease to exist. But if you're a leader, you're never going to be without those emotions. And so the goal is that you understand that you're going to be holding multiple frequencies at one time. That's duality, holding this and this and this and this all simultaneously. And with the breath and with grounding, suddenly you can hold it all.
Yeah. I obviously was somebody who thought there was an endpoint that I wanted to strive to. And the more I thought that to be the case, the more I sought something on the outside for things to shift. And it certainly got me to the point of burnout. And now that I'm starting to understand energy a little bit more myself, when we look at our physical, mental, emotional, energetic, spiritual body, when those things are out of alignment, I physically got disease. And so what have you seen from the people that you work with in terms of their energetic alignment and how it shows up in their physicality and their vitality as well?
Yeah. So a lot of the times when people come to me, I work with a lot of influencers, successful celebrities, high-performing leaders, also a lot of healers. And when they come to me, they usually come to me when they're at some sort of wit's end. A lot of times that's usually connected to finances. Things were really good and then things were not so great, and they couldn't seem to make their way back up. Their health was fantastic, and then they went to a certain event and something happened that was not benevolent. Something happened to them spiritually, and then they came back, and then their health took a big hit. Or they feel like they have a big purpose in life, and every single time they try to go and pursue it, it feels like something is pulling them back. And so this is where the concept of reincarnation comes in, your soul having different lessons, and my work as an energy healer comes in. Because sometimes some of the things that are happening physically to people is part of their natural path, meaning sometimes things happen for people to master a certain lesson, and it's actually benevolent for them to experience. Challenges, tests, duality, so your soul can master certain lessons. And then other times you've made a few too many choices that are off your intuitive path. You build calcified energy in your field through contraction and resistance and stress over time. And then through free will and choice, you ultimately end up creating disease in the body that is unnatural for you. So as a psychic, which is what my main work is, to be able to see into what is the root cause that is happening with people, the biggest thing that is important to recognize is what is natural growth and what is unnatural disease. And that indication for me determines, what do I do as an energy healer? Do I support them in the mind and the body? If what is happening with them is, for example, something that is natural, then this is helping them be able to stretch their capacity and trust in their timing of their life and give them the practices that allow them to be able to build more vitality. If we're dealing with something that's spiritual, that is unnatural, that has manifested in the energetic field over time, then my work as an energy healer is to support the removal of whatever that root cause is on a psychic level. As an energy healer, I go to the root cause. When did that unnatural energy build? And I remove it spiritually. From there, I need to help them on the mind, body level, energetic, spiritual levels, restore harmony. And that's when they can naturally start to grow again, to the point that their health returns to homeostasis and balance, whatever that looks like. Their mindset gets back to its natural state of being. Their emotional state isn't perfect, but it's intelligent. It's able to regulate, balance, hold itself through multiple dualities. And so in my world, the conversation gets a little bit more nuanced because we're in a planet that has free will, and not everybody is on their true path of life. And that can manifest as unnatural interference or health issues, passionless energy, moving from stress, creating and calcifying things that are not natural for them, or it's the lesson that then turns into the ripeness of the service that they're meant to offer to the world.
I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. If you are, I just wanted to let you know, join our community. There's so many free resources and a great community of people that desire health, happiness, human potential, to have more in their life, more health, more energy. And when you have those two things together, you could create more happiness, more abundance, whether it be financial, romantic, all these things in your life. And if you're just starting out, you don't know where to go, just sign up for thrivestatestarter.com, because in there you're going to get a bundle of information that includes a longevity ebook, a longevity and performance resource guide, lecture notes that come from my keynotes at Google, at Fortune 500 companies, all the insights in that keynote in lecture slide form given to you. And then finally, breathwork. I share 3 powerful breathwork exercises to access calm, which really gives you clarity and peace during the day, to access energy if you need to wake up and really motivate yourself, and finally a breathwork routine that you could do every single morning so that you could be very intentional with how you create that day. You can find all this stuff delivered free to your inbox at thrivestatestarter.com. And our community is growing. If you want to be a part of a community of people that desire the Thrive State, that are really in Thrive State themselves, and help other people along with that, you could be a part of the community. You can get group coaching from me. We do breathwork sessions, meditation sessions, and you also get to drop in and participate in podcasts in the future. You could find more about the community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. So check out those resources. You're not going to be disappointed. And please enjoy the remainder of this podcast.
So beautiful. Some people will hear the word energy healer and suddenly tune off. But I recently, I went to a conventional medical training path. And this past year, I've been in an energetic training path, and I've been learning with a teacher. And this entire time I was, learning, I'm like, okay, this is BS. Like, this stuff isn't happening, or yeah, I can kind of, maybe see how it worked, but maybe that's just, in the mind. When I just got back from a retreat a couple months ago, and there was a woman with 30 years, multiple sclerosis symptoms, couldn't see, her peripheral vision was gone, and she had pain and numbness in her legs. And over the course of 3 days, we worked on her emotional body, did some physical energy work on her, and she was clear of symptoms. There was a guy who had cataracts that was barely able to read the very first line in an eye test, and each one of the students and the teacher was working on him energetically, and within an hour, he was able to read down to the 8th line. So, legit, I cannot unsee that. My question to you is, you went from meditation to being able to sort of like go, oh, I'm starting to see how this works, and I'm starting to manipulate energy. What was that process for you like? Did you just start meditating and you suddenly just knew and you trusted that? Or did you have some teachers along the way? How did you started to really kind of tap into this world of energy and knowing the power of energy and doing this work that you just described with your clients?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I have to share is that I probably would have turned off if I heard energy healing as well. And so before my awakening, I totally understand that you have to have the kind of experience that you and I have spoken about here to go, oh, what I was as a skeptic has now shifted a little bit because I had a type of experience. And so just to kind of add into this, my mother has progressive MS, and her and I were traveling the coast of Canada because I'm actually born and raised in Ontario, Canada. And then I live out here in Vancouver. And my mother had just lost her mother a few years ago and has still been in the grieving process of her passing. Now both of her parents have passed. And she thought it would be a really fantastic idea to travel with us take my fiance and I and our dogs and our U-Haul across the coast of Canada. However, my mother's symptoms are quite significant, whether that be the consistent migraines or the vomiting or the incessant amount of pain that she experiences on a day-to-day basis, right? Went from 4 lesions to 14 lesions in a few years. And so my mother's path and her patterns in her life has created this for herself. And yet she still wanted to come on her trip. Now, mind you, my mother has also been dependent on painkillers for the last 20 years or so. And through our travels, what ended up happening is my mom actually started to ask me for energy healing. Before we would get on the road, she would say, hey, like, I'm feeling a little bit foggy today. Could you support me a little bit with energy healing? And so I'd drop into my divine connection, open up what I call my channel, and I would help her with energy healing. In 7 days, my mom stopped taking oxys after being severely dependent on them. And if anybody knows, you don't just like get off oxys and then feel better. Like, there is a significant detox protocol, and my mom had no symptoms. My mom went having consistent MS flare-ups to having none the entire time after 3 sessions that I performed on her. She went from one day not being able to walk to then the next 20 minutes later going on a full hike with my fiance and I. So those types of experiences, sometimes you have to see it in real time. Yes, in that moment, we were not deep enough to be able to remove her MS, but we were deep enough and she was ready enough to be able to receive what she was able to handle, which was symptom-free, actually being able to go an entire week without any MS symptoms, which is extraordinary for my mother, and then to actually be able to wean off of her dependencies with painkillers after having been dependent for 20 years. So her natural vitality in the environment she was in, which is something you speak about, the right environment has to be there in order for there to be healing. With my mom being in the environment of an energy healer, things started to shift. And with her willingness and readiness, massive change happened. So I just kind of wanted to bounce that off of you because I do think that that's important. And I would hope that everybody would be a skeptic until they have their eyes opened. And that's exactly what happened to me in my journey as well. See, because when I started meditating, like I said, I was meditating simply because I struggled with never feeling good enough, and I was constantly in a state of survival. But the deeper I got in meditation, meaning the more at peace and the more calm that I felt, I started to have very interesting experiences where I would start to feel love in my heart. I thought, that's interesting. I've never been able to feel this presence of love. And then I started to get these like breaths of air when I was in meditation. We're going to get a little woo here, but hang out with me. We started to get these like breaths of air in meditation. I'm thinking, okay, that's air conditioning. Like, what the heck? Who cares? So I started meditating in different places, and this breath kept following me. And then one day, I had no mentor, no guide. At the time, I was living on a cruise ship, meditating every day to try to help, my mindset. And a voice came through my ear and said, I am your grandfather. I am your spirit guide, and I've been with you your whole life. And I just about crapped my pants. I had a spiritual experience that nobody told me about, taught me about, nothing. And it came through just from being deep in prayer. And so I knew that that voice was my mother's father, simply because my grandfather was actually alive, my dad's father. And so I ran upstairs and I asked my mom if I had ever had any child activity talking to spirits, because a lot of children are very in tune. Their imaginary friends, the people that they're talking to, I can see all these things. That's just because that's who they naturally are, and the world shuts that off. Yeah. It's natural, right? And so I asked my mother if I ever told her that I talked to Grandpa as a child. And she said, you would walk around the house and say, Grandpa's here, and your grandfather was dead. And you would always walk around and say, Grandpa's coming with me to the dentist, Grandpa's here, Grandpa's around me. And that was the moment that it felt like my brain, something connected. And I thought, how has no one told us about these spiritual experiences, or that when we die, there's afterlife? Like, what do you mean my dead grandfather talked to me in my ear? Like, I'm either psychotic or something just happened. Like, that was my experience. And I chose to follow that current of understanding the spirit world, understanding how my energy was susceptible to connecting with the dead person. And ultimately that led me to exploring energy healing, energy work, the ability to connect with people's energy, see people's ailments from a spiritual point of view. But it started with a really kooky experience talking to my grandfather in the middle of a cabin, and that changed my life.
Oh, wow. This is amazing. We mentioned this a little bit earlier on, and I wonder if we can give some people some practical things just to sort of, this is their first taste of energy to be able to understand these concepts, which I believe you had mentioned grounding, shielding, protecting, and I forgot the last thing you said.
Cleansing.
Cleansing. Yes. Okay. Well, amazing. So I feel this is so important. And so maybe as we talk about this a little bit, if we can maybe give them some insights as to what each step looks like. And if we can maybe expand a little bit, somebody who might be new in this energy world, what exactly is grounding? Let's take that.
Yes. So if we can agree that we are in a society that is really putting us in positions, if you will, of being influenced by everything around us. And the more that we get influenced by those things around us, the less we're aware of what's happening in our body. See, when we're scrolling on social media for a long time, or we're getting caught in traffic and our anger and our emotions are starting to come up, what ends up happening a lot of times is that we don't come back to the body and say, whoa, I'm here. How do I want to respond to this? And so over time, what ends up happening is most of us live out of our bodies and live completely in our minds. We don't know how to breathe. We don't know how to feel the sensation in our body. And we don't know how to have our feet on the floor. Grounding is the ability to be here, as simple as a concept as that. And so what does that look like and how do we get there? Well, a super common technique is body scanning meditation. If you're listening to your favorite song and you're playing it in your office, now all you're doing is you're now starting to connect your breath to the top of your head. You're breathing through the top of your head and just noticing how you feel. And then you're moving to your face and you're breathing and just noticing how that feels. And you're going to breathe basically all the way through the parts of your body until you get to the bottoms of your feet. Now, at first that might sound, who cares? Until you realize that once you've completed it, suddenly all of those spiraling thoughts have now turned into the intelligence of sensation in your body. You feel more peace. Your hamster wheel mind has started to slow down. And that's just one way to ground. Another way to ground, I like to say the greener, the better. Mm-hmm. And so if you can take your shoes and your socks off and hang out in your backyard with your kids, bingo. If you can take a few deep breaths and imagine from the bottoms of your feet, you're opening up the bottoms of your feet with a deep breath, and you're setting an intention to release any stuck energy back down to the earth. You're starting to build reciprocity and connection with your electric field and the magnetic field of this earth. Meaning, you're allowing the earth to take all of that extra energy that you're holding on to, that anxiety, that disconnection, that frustration, and you're releasing it back down into the earth. Going on nature hikes and breathing while you're out in nature. Being able to sit under a tree while your kids are playing. These simple practices of grounding allow you to finally start to come back to being here. Because if you're not here, then you're there. And if you're there, you'll have disease and you won't even know it. Being here is how we're aware that there's anything that's even imbalanced in the first place.
What is the difference between protecting and shielding our energy?
Yep. So I have a method, it's called the Sovereign Healer Method, and I explain shielding and protecting differently. Shielding to me is being able to control the variables of a space down to basically nothing. So what does that look like? Having one room where I am in a complete meditation without noise outside of me. So shielding is being able to actually remove the noise, and then from here, what I do in my work is I connect light across the walls of the room. And basically what that does, if I imagine that the ceiling has a giant white X on the wall, and then all of the windows and walls and floors, what that does when I do something like that is it actually protects my energy. And so when I'm shielding a space, I'm saying I'm not available for anything to enter my energy field while I'm controlling the variables through meditation. Whereas protecting is different because we are in a time where we are absorbing energy all the time, and most of us are completely unconscious to it. If you go from client to client to client and you do not cleanse your energy or protect your energy field, you have likely absorbed whatever fragments, as I call it, or excess energy around your aura that then later ends up building into problems that don't need to be there. And so protection in my world looks like a white shield around my energy or protective bubble. So before I go into work, I take a deep breath, or even on this podcast, I take a deep breath and I imagine that my energy is held in a white bubble. What is that? That's protecting my aura. That means that nothing can enter my energy field that I am not available for. And so I'll set an intention like, I'm setting an intention to place a white bubble around my energy field as I step into today's podcast with Kien. I'm unavailable for any energy to be picked up, anything that he is projecting on me or anything that I am picking up from him. Through the remainder of today's podcast, I'm a sovereign being of light, and I set this white shield to hold my energy through the remainder of today's podcast. Might sound silly, but the thing that I just did in that moment is I said, Kien's there, I'm here, and I actually now do not allow anything to get sponged into my energy that's not mine. And instead it'll reflect back to him. And then when I'm complete with the day, let's say I'm done all my clients, then I will go ahead once I get home, and my variables are not, and I'm going from client to client, and then I've got this and I've got that. And the variable is just me and maybe my daughters or my kids and just my own energy. Now I release that white bubble.
This is something where a year ago, I'm just like, anybody doing this is just not like, why, and the more I see it, the more I can't unsee it. And so coming from somebody with, the credentials, and I'm going to put air quotes on that I have, this stuff is real and legit. And what we can see, what we can intend actually shifts the world and the energy around us. And it's something you could actually feel. You could actually use your feelings and trust your feelings as a gauge.
You will be shocked how it will feel to have a white bubble over your energy, and you'll feel like an idiot at the first time you do it, and you won't really totally believe in it, but you'll feel this lightness and this preservation of your energy field when you're engaging with people in significant or severe settings. And it might take you a few times of your ego getting in the way for you to recognize that something as simple as that is actually preserving the integrity of your energy so much more than your ego telling you that you didn't need it. And in my experience, that was true. I was always sponging my environment around me, and I was always at the helm of other people's energies. I'd walk into a space and somebody would be stressed, and I'd pick up all that energy, and then I'd bring it home, and I'd feel like, why am I feeling like that? Something as simple as grounding my energy before I engage on this call, putting up a white shield and saying, I'm a sovereign being. He is a sovereign being, and I'm not available for this. And then once we're closed with the podcast, doing some sort of cleansing and grounding ritual. I would be false to myself if I didn't say that in many ways that actually ended up saving my energy, because I absorbed everything before I had protocols to maintain the integrity of my own energy field. And when I didn't have that, I was at the mercy of everything outside of me.
Yeah. I don't know what your favorite cleansing process is, but I almost create almost a little toilet for myself and imagine a tube, and I'm just taking a crap of all the negative energy that's not mine and just flushing it out, and you can immediately feel the difference. And the thing is, it almost makes me laugh as I do so as well. I'd be like, oh man, that's stunk. And you can instantly actually just, feel the difference. And, what I tell people is what you feel is actually a biochemical gauge of the energy, the molecules, the hormones, the neurotransmitters that are floating around your body. So if you could feel the difference, there is a physiological difference. So what is maybe one of your favorite cleansing techniques?
Well, now I'm going to need to steal that one, because that is a good one. Mine is not nearly as attractive as that. But I love to practice the art of commanding. Because the thing is we all have this ability to intend and believe simultaneously. And so what I do in my world is I actually imagine that I'm taking an energy shower, and I set an intention to command to clear anything that I've picked up. And so I like to use my hands because it helps me connect to belief. Yeah. And so I'm setting an intention to clear anything that I've picked up from Kien's energy, and I'm restoring my energy back into its harmony. And I'm literally imagining if I've got like dirt on me, I'm washing it off of me. And you can either do it around your energy, or you can actually touch your own etheric field and clear it this way. But I'm adding in the intention out loud. Yeah. Some people feel uncomfortable with that, but we have to command in a way that's actually connects the feeling. And you don't connect the feeling if you're just thinking it in your mind. Yeah. So when I say it out loud, it allows me to go, I'm setting an intention to clear anything that I picked up, and I'm imagining that energy has light. So cleansing practices, adding in a command. What I love to do is imagine from the top of my head to the bottoms of my feet, I'm having like a white wash shower. Adding a color like blue, like yellow, like white, whatever feels good for you. But you are having an energy cleansing shower as you are invoking to command over your energy that you're clearing anything that you have picked up. And it'll actually look like debris is coming off your energy, and you will feel, what I like to say with cleansing, if you've done it accurately, it will feel like you now are able to connect to your own energy and feel clearer in your own energy. Just like you had a long day, lots of clients, and you have a shower, it should feel refreshing.
Yeah. Amazing. And, as Victoria and I are talking about this, and we have our own techniques and whatnot, and you're like, oh, well, which technique do I learn? And what's really real? And the more I've actually gone into this process, it's like these techniques are going to be very useful because it'll allow you to just shift and just start to understand your energy. But I ultimately feel that because we are sovereign, because we are these energetic, unlimited beings, we will have our own way in how we interact with energy. So you'll find that as you start to play with this a little bit more, you'll really start to understand how you connect with energy a little bit better, and not necessarily feel like you have to follow somebody else's recipe and there's only certain ways to get that done. How would you respond?
I would 100% agree, because we are designed to follow our own intuition, and we also have our own soul path. Yeah. And so what works for me might not work for you unless you interpret it in a way that suits your own intuition. And then what works for me might not be what you're sharing with me unless I interpret it through my own intuition. And that's where discernment comes in. Discernment is your ability to go, yep, that's for me, or that doesn't totally feel great for me. Yeah. Yeah. In your body, you know what is right for you. That subtle sense in your energy field that goes, or is what you want to follow when it comes to any information that anybody is giving you. And so that's what I would recommend for anybody who's listening, especially if you're like, okay, yeah, I definitely need grounding. Just take a deep breath and ask yourself, what does grounding look like for me? Because your body has the answers. If you just close your eyes and take 30 seconds, just take a few deep breaths and ask yourself, what does grounding look like for me? Or what is the most supportive way for me to ground? Or based on all my responsibilities in my life, what can I make time for that allows me to be able to welcome in more presence? And now suddenly you've taken the concept of grounding that we've shared here, but you filtered it through your own discernment and then interpreted it through your own intuition. And that is energetic authority. And that's what you have over your own life. And that's where I would recommend anybody to go from here.
That is so beautiful. Now, before I ask my last question, I know you have got a couple offerings. You work with some people one-on-one, but, if somebody wants to go a little bit deeper with you, or at least find you on social media, where can people go and what should they know?
Yeah, so people can find me on my website. I think that's the best place for the right people to come, at victoriapippoinc.com. And the big thing that I encourage anybody who is interested in anything that I've shared here is come if you feel like there's a part of you that has a desire to learn more about who you are spiritually. If there's a part of you that listened to today and felt, oh, what do you mean she kind of talked to some spirits? That's weird, but I'm kind of intrigued. Follow that intrigue if it feels like it's right and safe and just and true for you, because that is really where the majority of my work is. Helping extraordinary leaders, extraordinary healers on their path understand themselves as souls And then if not, I hope certainly you've taken the ground, shield, protect, and cleanse methods into your life and start to apply those. And either way, I'm super grateful that I've been able to have time to share anything with you today.
Beautiful. Last question for you is all the different type of work that you've done, before in the past. I'm curious, what has been your best medicine?
Wow. The first thing that came to my mind was timing. Time and timing are different things. I have a very beautiful mind that expects things to manifest or to happen the moment that I put it out. It's like, okay, I did it. Now show me the thing. Okay, yeah, I did. Now I'm healthy. Okay, I worked out once. Now I'm fit. I never have to worry about anything again because I did it once. The mind, the time of the mind has, I think, in me this beautiful sense of constant desire to grow at a speed that I believe is nearly impossible. Then there's timing, and timing honors the rhythm of my life and my soul's growth and how long sometimes it can take for true healing to occur, and how sometimes healing can happen in an instant. But either way, if it's all God, it's all good. And when I say that, I mean, if I truly believe that what I'm doing is right and I'm doing everything I can, then everything is okay. I'm going to be okay. And so actually the biggest medicine for me in my life has been around trusting in the timing of my healing and also learning. Trusting that when it's time for me to receive the right information about my body or about my energy or about what can help me move forward in my path, I will receive it. And I don't need to rush or force or thrust my expectation to make it happen, because if I'm here, then I can't miss it. And so timing has been the greatest medicine for me in my life as somebody who never thought I had enough of it or didn't feel like I was safe enough to be able to exhale into it.
What a great, beautiful way to end this, to allow, hopefully, within our transmission today, for people to truly recognize and to remember that they are safe, that they're in love, that they're connected. And this last piece about timing, just a great reminder that we are not late.
Yes.
There's no need to perform. We are perfectly exactly where we need to be.
Yes.
So beautiful. Victoria, thank you for this beautiful transmission. I can't wait to connect more, potentially IRL. And thank you for sharing this beautiful day and transmission with us. Thanks for being on the Thrive State podcast.
Thanks, Kien, for dancing with me.
I hope you enjoy that episode of the Thrive State podcast. And if you're finding that this content is really helping you and your family members, please consider supporting our mission and our cause of elevating health, happiness, and human potential for people all over the world. You can do so by making sure that you subscribe to this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family members, and leaving us a 5-star review wherever podcasts are heard. All these things are going to really help elevate the show and to give us the resources to continue to bring more content just like this to yourself as well as the people that you love. If you haven't already, you might want to consider joining our community. We actually have a community where people get to engage with me in group sessions where we do breath work, meditation, where we do challenges together, really to be able to get us access to health, happiness, human potential, so that we could have longevity and performance in our life as well. You can check out our community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. And if you haven't already, pick up a copy of my book, Thrive State. It really gives you all the tools, the pillars that you need to create a blueprint to control the energetics of your life. Who are you? How you show up in the world? The choices that you consistently make create an energy in your body, and you can control this. And when you can control that, you also control the messages you give to your DNA that gives you access, again, to optimal health, longevity, and peak performance. And let me also just share a free gift to you. If you haven't already, please pick up my longevity and performance bundle where I share lecture notes, ebooks, breathwork exercises, and longevity and performance resources at thrivestatestarter.com. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you for helping us grow. Remember always, my friends, that you are your best medicine.